So here's another sector of society, which is the art sector. So artists, of course, are always at the forefront of everything. So also in terms of using new technologies for creative expression, VR and AR, MR are being used by artists, but also by museums. So now have a look at this picture and imagine a future museum or a current museum would look like this. People would just have their own space in the museum, wear a headset, and they just could experience all types of artworks individually, getting the opportunity to simply look at all those artworks with as much time as they would prefer, without any other visitors being next to them, maybe pushing them aside, without any pressure to leave, having a look at a certain painting, for instance. I think this could work very well in a sense. And there are many advantages to this that you can think of. So for instance, typically these days, if you want to see the Mona Lisa, you would have to go to Paris, right? You would have to travel there, buy a ticket, wait in line. And then if you're lucky, you will get like 5 minutes. If you've ever found it in this huge Louvre building, you will get like 5 minutes to have a look at it. And then the next batch of tourists will push you aside, and then it's time for other people to have a look at it. What could work very well is that you just wear this VR headset and you can look at this Mona Lisa for as long as you like. And perhaps if the technology is good enough, you won't even be noticing the difference between the virtual rendering of the Mona Lisa and the actual painting. So why would you then travel all the way to Paris to have a look at the real thing if you can actually see something that is as good and as realistic as the real thing in VR by yourself without really having to travel? For as long as you like, from all angles, you can have a look at it. You can get really close. You won't damage it in any way. Wouldn't this be much nicer than traveling to Paris? And of course, Paris is still for us relatively close by, right? But now imagine that all possible artworks from all parts of the world are stored together in this virtual museum, and you can experience those whenever you like, without having to wait for it, without having to travel for it, without even having to pay for it, perhaps. Wouldn't that be not much nicer than an actual museum? Well, I think this is something to think about. Of course, going somewhere is also often a social activity, right? Whereas what you see here is much more an individual experience. And I think it also raises very deep questions. So if you have experienced this Mona Lisa in VR and you cannot really distinguish it from the real thing, did you then experience the real Mona Lisa? Can you say, well, I've seen the actual Mona Lisa. I've seen the Mona Lisa. I know what it looks like. I've had this experience of seeing what it's like, looking at it from all angles. Is this, in principle, any different from seeing the real thing? Well, things to think about. Of course, the nice thing is you don't even have to go to a museum for those things, right? Imagine you can have this headset by yourself at home. You can look at it whenever you like at night as well. You don't have to buy a ticket. One final thing, museums are already playing around with this. So the most famous Dutch museum, the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, you can go to their website and then you can actually already walk through their museum. For free, you can take a virtual tour. In this case, it's on a website, so it's in 2D. This is called 360-degree pictures. In this case, you can walk around, see things still in 2D on your screen, but still more or less it's the same principle. So you can go to a place without actually traveling there, just using your computer. You can look around. There won't be annoying other tourists in your way. You can basically look at all the things that they have there in the museum. And perhaps you can also go to places that usually you wouldn't be allowed in, right? So you can go to the cellars and see what they have there stored, what's not on display. So it also offers opportunities that a typical museum visit wouldn't have to offer.